My dad is a doctor, you know that. Right? So and generally ये होता है कि डॉक्टर की फैमिली में ये होता है थोड़ा nepotism type कि बेटा भी डॉक्टर बनेगा आगे. I must have approached at least 100 colleges. Out of 100 colleges, I think 10 said, okay, we'll do a training. And out of 10, I think 2 or 3 paid us. ठीक है. तो जिन्होंने कराया वो भी फ्री में कराते थे कि ये तो फर्स्ट ट्रेनिंग है, वी वांट टू सी हाउ यू डू, उसके बाद देखेंगे नेक्स्ट वाले में. 99% ऑफ द टाइम जो हमारा assumption रहता है about a problem or a solution or how that business will scale, it will be wrong. Maybe it is destiny कि one day we transform into cyborgs, right? Like हम भी कहीं से आए ना, we came from amoeba, right? Here till here. So I think that might be a natural next evolution.
Okay, so we are at the Airowire office today to shoot the first episode of this podcast series, and with me I have Akshay, my very dear friend, who is the co-founder and CEO of Airowire Networks. Akshay, welcome to the broader pattern.
Thank you so much, Barun. Pleasure to be here.
Cool. I think I'm super excited to do this. There's something I have been wanting to do for a while now, to start a podcast series and then to have you as the guest to begin this journey. I think it makes me even more excited. So thank you for being here with me.
Honor is all mine. And हम लोग काफ़ी टाइम बाद मिल रहे हैं.
Oh yes.
और डायरेक्टली पॉडकास्ट पे मिल रहे हैं, तो इट्स क्वाइट एक्साइटिंग. या
Yes, I think after a long time we are talking, and I mean not over the phone, but of course we're meeting after quite some time now.
quite a long time.
But yeah, I think it's a good excuse, and you helping me out with this, I think it cannot get better than this.
My pleasure.
Cool. So Akshay, how's life been?
Life's been good, yeah. Life's been. I'm grateful to Almighty for whatever I have. So very grateful, very blessed. Feel very blessed. Life is good.
Awesome. It's always good to see people who you know, who you respect, who you love. They're doing better and they're doing good in life. So it always fills your heart with pleasure. So cool. And how's your entrepreneurship journey going on?
Journey is going well. It's been a crazy ride.
Why do you say that?
Because it's a roller coaster ride, right? You see a lot of highs, a lot of lows. So and over a period of time, then you get used to that highs and lows, and then you get used to that lifestyle, and you get used to that way of life. So it's good. Now I'm more settled in. It's been, I think, 8 years now. Now I feel more settled, more comfortable.
Oh wow, it's already 8 years. I mean, now that you say, मेरे को वो realization हो रहा है कि मतलब 8 साल हो गए इस बात को, that you plunged from the job we were together in, and then you moved to this whole journey.
Yeah, 2015 I think. 2015 sometime. 2015, mid of 2015.
Awesome, man.
Yeah.
Awesome. And I think as somebody who has been around in the sense following your journey, I think it has been really inspiring to see what a friend could do, and yeah, thanks for doing that, not just for yourself. I think it has been an inspiration for a lot of people around as a friend who know you, who has been following your journey. So I mean, of course we're going to talk a lot about a lot of things today, from your journey, from first job and things, and then moving to this gig that you are in currently, and how well you're doing. So let's begin with from very beginning. So why don't you just talk us through the journey, like how did the networking happen in your life? How did you get into the networking space, and your first job, and
First job, though, we started together at Cisco, right? How I landed up in networking, actually, बहुत ही, I mean, it is very, now looking back, it feels very surreal, right? nothing was planned as such. So story is actually very funny. College में, so I'll go a little further back, right? So my dad is a doctor, you know that, right? So and generally ये होता है कि डॉक्टर की फैमिली में दैट ये होता है थोड़ा नेपोटिज्म टाइप कि बेटा भी डॉक्टर बनेगा आगे, पोते भी डॉक्टर बनेंगे, स्टफ लाइक दैट. बट आई वाज लकी in the fact that my dad didn't push me forcefully into medical field, right? He's quite open-minded, very open-minded, and he let me choose my career. So for that I'm very grateful to my dad even today, right? So because I think he gave me that liberty to choose my path, I chose engineering. This is quite uncommon, right? Because generally most people say that I did engineering by chance, right? For in my case, I was from school days very inclined to computers, very fascinated. When the first time we got computers in school, I think 6th 7th standard mein honge, right? And then when we had the first access to internet, cyber cafe jaake, right? Stuff like that. So I was always inclined, and I felt like I have some a natural ability in this space. I was always good with computers, reformat karna, wo karna, ye karna, and all that stuff, right? So when the career choice, when at the point of choosing careers, I consciously chose engineering than medical. I had a good score in the medical entrance test, but I consciously chose engineering, thinking कि ये मेरा natural ability है, इसमें I'll naturally feel comfortable, right? Now looking back, I feel that was one of the wise decisions, or a decision which was very intuitive, not very calculated, but something which was done through gut feeling. Then I land up in engineering college. First year तो ऐसे चला जाता है. First year is all time pass. Then waiting eagerly to get into department. अभी department में जाएंगे, फिर कुछ ये होगा, कुछ कमाल होगा. So then we go to department, and then it's the same old churn, right? It used to feel like school. कुछ ज़्यादा कुछ हो, even in engineering, at least back in our time, 2005-6 के around, तो at least I felt personally very disappointed while in engineering with what was being done there.
I think a lot of people would relate to that statement maybe, but yeah.
Yeah, so I think I had a very different visualization of what engineering would be. राइट जब गया वो तो इट फेल्ट लाइक अ कंटिन्यूएशन ऑफ द स्कूल कि ऐसे सब्जेक्ट पढ़ाए जा रहे हैं, फिर उसको रट्टा मारना है, फिर लिखना है, ये करना है, वो करना है. वो आई डेंट फील दैट कि इसमें कुछ कर रहे हैं हम लोग, इंजीनियरिंग काइंड ऑफ कर रहे हैं, स्पेशली कंप्यूटर साइंस में कुछ कर रहे हैं. तो आई गॉट अ लिटिल डिसअपॉइंटेड टू बी हॉनेस्ट. एंड सेकेंड आई गॉट वेरी डिस्ट्रैक्टेड ऑल्सो, राइट, विद ऑल द अदर थिंग्स. तो आई डेंट study well during engineering, and at some point I was also conscious of the fact that I'm not getting good grades, or I'm just scraping through the passing marks, right, not doing extremely well, and I was conscious of that fact that I'm not doing well, bolke. But I didn't really go that route of doing really well, or how do I put it? There was again some intuitionary thing कि if I have the skills, कुछ ना कुछ तो हो जाएगा, right?
You had that belief system.
Kind of a belief कि अगर skills है तो कुछ ना कुछ हो जाएगा, right? So I didn't push myself too much towards getting a good score and all those stuff, right? And then what happens is, when you come to your final years, then college placements start, right? College placement में क्या होता है कि cut off होता था कि below this 70 or 75 you're not even qualified to attend the test, right? So although I was really good with programming, I loved programming back then. I was really good with all the stuff, but I didn't get a chance to attend any of the college placements because I didn't qualify at the marks level. So I didn't. So वो पूरा चला गया. You know, all that opportunity was gone. उसके बाद so then I came to Bangalore, and Bangalore में बहुत सारे, this is not very motivational to be honest.
No, but I mean, but still, I can definitely feel a lot of students can still relate to this whole journey, because what you said, right, about the cutoff percentage part, and which is very true in today's campus placement as well, right? Any company that goes in, they go with the criteria कि भैया 60% होंगे तब तुम्हें एप्टी देने मिलेगा, या 60% या 70% होंगे, so they all come up with their own criteria. And I think it's a very good point to delve upon, that how did you still went through that hurdle and made it.
Yeah, true. I think skill and talent will trump over everything else. Now though, it is, I think, far more easier. I wouldn't say easier, but the amount of stuff a guy in college can do now is tremendous. The amount of opportunity, the amount of exposure a student in college gets now, right? Excuse me. So you have internet, cloud hai, people can deploy apps, build a company while they're still in college and stuff like that, right? Abhi to it's a different level altogether. Coming back to the career, right?
So you came to Bangalore.
So I came to Bangalore. We were staying in Rajaji Nagar, and with a group of unemployed job hunting guys, right? तो उसमें क्या था कि there used to be one or two guys who used to apply for everybody. तो जो भी opening निकलता था, right? So
this is true. Like,
this
one
is
person
true.
applying for
15,
all the
20,
friends.
all the friends, right? तो जो भी ऑफ कैंपस निकलता सबके लिए अप्लाई करता. तो ऐसा सिस्को का निकला हुआ था, तो somebody applied for all of us, right? तो उसने बताया कि ऐसे ऐसे सिस्को में निकला है, and the offer is really good, and the package and all this is really good. So and so the destiny played out like this, right? The place where I stayed, this PG mein I used to stay, my roommate was a Kerala guy, and he was a network admin.
Oh wow.
Okay, and he used to be a network admin.
Stars were aligned already.
Yeah, we'll come back to this. Okay. तो he was a network admin, and तो जैसे ही application हुआ, तो पहले तो we got through all that aptitudes and all those generic rounds, right? And then after 1 week or 2 weeks, so I got through all of that, and I think after 2 weeks we were called off to Cisco for the final interview, right? Like, so till then no knowledge of networking, right? So I asked him his book, CCNA wala jo Todd Lamley wala book, right? So I got his book, and I crammed up as much as possible. Crammed up as in I read through that whole book as much as possible, and came to Cisco, gave intro, and it went through, it got through. So that's how I landed up in Cisco. I had no prior background in networking, and another very crazy incident, very crazy incident, is during that phase in 8th semester, 9th semester, when all my colleagues, all my classmates had already got placed, and I think 70-80% of the college was already placed in some TCS or Infi or some Wipro or something. So very few people were left out who were not placed, either guys like me जिनका score नहीं था, some other problem, right? And that was a little depressing phase कि उस time you start to self doubt yourself कि मैंने कहीं गलती तो नहीं कर दिया, कि marks भी लेना चाहिए था, and stuff like that. And this is very crazy, okay? तो I was going on a bike, और एक truck passes by. वो ट्रक पे बड़ा सा, it was a big truck with some satellite and all, उस पे सिस्को का ये था पोस्टर था, बहुत बड़ा पोस्टर था, सिस्को का ट्रक था एंड इट जस्ट पास्ड बाय. आई रिमेंबर दैट मोमेंट. उस टाइम आई हैड नो क्लू अबाउट I had heard of Cisco and something, but I had no clue. But exactly while thinking about आगे future में क्या होगा in that question mark, and that truck passes by. ठीक है, now thinking back it feels crazy, but that happened. So yeah, that's how I landed up in Cisco. And when I got a job, and I'm very grateful to Cisco for giving the opportunity, to all of us. And by the time I landed there, I was so hungry for an opportunity to, in terms of doing a job. I think that hunger gave a push a little further during the job.
Awesome. Awesome. I think one can definitely relate a lot to these stories. Personally, if I look at my own journey, I think went through something similar during those times when I was graduating in 2008. I think during the campus placements, most of my friends got placed, and I'm the one still lurking around. अरे मेरे पास job क्यों नहीं है अभी तक? सबकी तो placement हो गई, मेरी कब होगी? And then finally I got placed also in a company, but then 2008 recession happened and this and that, and we were at home for 1 year doing nothing. Just there was no job for a fresher in the market, and then somehow landing something in IBM for 1 year, and then even going through that same phase 2 years, don't know about what the future holds and things. Just like you said, right? Ki pata nahi ki when you're thinking ki future kya hai, and suddenly a truck passes by, but maybe in my case the truck did not pass by, but I think networking was the only subject I think which I enjoyed, and thankfully Cisco happened very early in that career. So I think again great turn of events, and I think that's where we met for the first time when we joined together. And I very vividly remember those nights that we have spent in Cisco campus, building up the labs, cooking up Maggie in microwaves, and playing Counter-Strike. Oh yeah, plugging those 3750 switches and just attaching our laptops. I think यार काफी fun time किया हमने.
It was very fun time, absolutely.
And the good thing was like जो अपना entire group था, all to begin with 14 of us. I think we were all really enjoying the journey, while it was very grilling for the first 2.5 months. But I think we made the most out of it in terms of making memories for sure.
Definitely.
Cool. Now, so the job happened, and I personally know you are doing quite fabulous in that whole journey when you were working as a network engineer in Cisco. And you were one engineer who a lot of people would look up to, right? We have examples like that, who would really look at you and they were like, okay, you see this, they would see a mentor in you and things like that. Now, while you were doing so well and everything, what gave that push that you really wanted to do something on your own, or was that always there in your head before even you started the Cisco journey and things?
It was always there. It was always there. So I think in 10th or 11th standard, my dad got a book called Rich Dad Poor Dad. I think a lot of people have read that book, right? So that is one book which had a huge impact on me, and I started thinking in terms of financial independence, this, that, all of it, very early stage. In fact, at one point I wanted to do commerce directly. I did all of this thinking कि अगर ये सब करके finally the end goal is this financial freedom, then why not go there directly? Right? Let's do commerce or economics and go there directly. But then technology inclination was quite high. So I was always very I think fascinated with technology entrepreneurship stories from our early days. Back then when we were in school, I think Bill Gates was the hero, right? And then college mein aaya Steve Jobs, we got to know about Steve Jobs, right? And then slowly we started observing a lot of heroes here locally, right? So back of the mind was always there, but I since after college the first step was to uh, you know to get some exposure, learn some stuff. I took up the job, Cisco job, and then once in the job, I think 3 or 4 years down the line, it had you know it was clear to me कि ये मुझे lifelong नहीं करना है corporate. I think I have to take that leap, and I'm thankful to my co-founder Prashant to having give me that push, because मेरे दिमाग में था करना, but I didn't have a clear line कि मैं अब करूँगा या करूँगा, and then a lot of things happened, situation ऐसी बनी, and he pushed, so I took that leap of faith, I think you would know, right, कि while in the job we were actually hustle.
So that's more interesting part, and I would really want you to delve more into that. So I know this that while you were on the job, you started your hustle with your new company and everything. So and this will be very interesting for जो बहुत सारे चाहे बच्चे हो या बहुत सारे से professionals भी हैं who really wants to take that plunge of starting something of their own, be it a startup or any other thing for that matter. So according to you, I mean, or maybe through your journey, if you can tell us a little bit more about how was that journey, right, while you are doing the job and doing this. So how did this whole transition happen? If you could maybe talk a little details on this.
Yeah.
So what we did is we basically decided to start immediately, right? And I think that's one of the best things that people should do is start off, right? Not overthink too much. तो हमने क्या किया था कि we started a company, incorporated a company with our dads as directors, because both me and my co-founder we were still in a job, right? तो हमने start किया, and then we started to figure out कि business करेंगे क्या, right? So
you just registered the company.
We just
with
registered.
your dad as director.
Yeah.
Okay.
So one thing that we were clear with was कि we'll do something within networking space.
Okay.
Because we had this skill set and experience, we'll figure out what we'll do, but we'll do within this space. That's what clarity we had, but we had no business model. In fact, we didn't know what is a business model, right? We just started, right? We were actually hustling. We were trying out a lot of things. So, and I think for anybody who wants to start something, I think this is the most practical way, is to start off very, very small with whatever idea they have, right? In a smallest form of that, and start working on it while you're working your day job or something. And then as you go forward, as you find more information, because hota kya hai ki generally if you start off with some idea, let's say I'll make any product or something, right? Let's say I'll make some app or some product or something. 99% of the time, जो हमारा assumption रहता है about a problem or a solution or how that business will scale, it will be wrong, right? 99% will be wrong. It only once we go to market and once we test the idea, we'll figure out 1,000 things as to why it will not work, right? So directly starting off, the probability of failure is very, very high. So a better approach I feel is कि you start somewhere, start immediately, don't overthink, start immediately, but start small and with the least minimum exposure to to yourself or your family, and just start small and try go meet people, talk to people, be be shameless about going and approaching people, right? And people will say all kind of things, and or probably ignore you or not give you time and stuff like that.
It has happened with you as well?
Yeah, it happens with everybody, right? It happens with so we were like what, 25, 26-year-olds, right? And us going and telling people ki we will consult for you. They're like, they don't entertain, right? कि कहाँ से आ गया, कौन सी company है, क्या brand. People don't entertain you in the beginning, right? Unless so always second time entrepreneurs, they have better chance of success only because they have some credibility already built in. So that initial जो rejections होते हैं just because they don't know you or your potential, वो सारा निकल जाता है for a second time entrepreneur. For a first time entrepreneur, that is always there, that resistance is always there, right? So if you start small, then you can figure out a lot of stuff till you have some clarity. So we used to do a lot of stuff. Initially we thought we'll do a product like basically when you go to Starbucks, you get or airport, you get a page, you put your number and you get OTP, right? Nowadays it's very common. So back then it used to be little niche, right? And we wanted to do this for all businesses. So we thought of that as a product. We went to building that product, and then we figured out, okay, this is not monetarily viable, stuff like that. And then we used to go to colleges and say ki we'll do trainings, industrial trainings, networking will do trainings, so students will get industrial exposure, right? Which is generally a need for most engineering colleges. So I used to go basically not even cold calling, we just used to walk into colleges. We used to go figure out अच्छा कौन है, HOD कौन है, CS department है, HC department का, just go meet them and stuff like that. So वो just to make some revenue, right? कि while we are doing this, let's generate some kind of revenue.
Maybe just to sustain.
Must just to sustain. So we might have gone to at least some 90 to 100 colleges.
Wow. And all this was happening in parallel, I mean, while you were on the job.
Yeah, while I was on the job. And I also did one thing. So I found out that there is something called as sabbatical leave.
Okay. I think you're giving ideas to the people right now.
Yeah. So I went on a sabbatical leave for 3 months. So I tried a lot of stuff during that leave also. And funny part is once I came back, मेरे टीम से बहुत सारे लोग sabbatical leave पे जाने लगे. ठीक है. तो 1 year down the line, so when I finally put my paper, so my manager was very quick to relieve me because he was like, okay, this is a bad fish in my pond. सबको सिखा रहा है कि sabbatical leave क्या होता है. So I did experiment in that sabbatical leave. I took a leave, proper unpaid leave होता है 3-4 महीने का. Then you can experiment and then you can do a lot of stuff. So I did that. I think that's a good approach for a lot of people who are in the job. Take a break and then go explore stuff.
But then again, I don't see this in a negative light, because I think even if you took that sabbatical leave, you use it in a very positive way. आपके दिमाग में क्लैरिटी थी कि यार अगर मेरे को ये ब्रेक लेना है तो इस ब्रेक में मैं ये करूँगा, right? So if somebody has a clarity like that, and they're not literally just wasting their time, then obviously it's not a bad idea actually, and they can get that 3 months of complete freedom to try things, explore it in a greater detail. So
yeah, absolutely.
I think people should go out and meet as many people as possible. In whatever the idea that they have, they should just go and talk to as many people as possible. That will bring more clarity. So yeah, coming back to how we were hustling, we were going to these institutions. So I must have approached at least 100 colleges. Out of 100 colleges, I think 10 said, okay, we'll do a training. And out of 10, I think 2 or 3 paid us. ठीक है. तो जिन्होंने कराया वो भी फ्री में कराते थे कि ये तो फर्स्ट ट्रेनिंग है, वी वांट टू सी हाउ यू डू, उसके बाद देखेंगे नेक्स्ट वाले में. तो 2-3 ने were courteous enough to pay us, but yeah, we had some meager revenues doing trainings. And while we were doing trainings, we we came across one college जिनका network बहुत बुरे हाल में था, whose network is in a very bad state. So we said कि we have the expertise, we'll consult you, we'll audit and we'll tell you what has to be done. So we did an audit and we gave them a report and stuff like that, and then nothing, they went silence for next 2 months. उसके बाद उनका कॉल आया कि वी लाइक योर प्रपोजल, कैन यू डू दिस फॉर अस बोल के. तो वहाँ से हमारा जर्नी स्टार्ट हुआ.
So this is your basically
first project,
break in
first
that
break,
sense.
first break.
And this is also inception of your first real idea of what you want to do as an entrepreneur.
Correct. That's where we figured out, and they asked us to quote कितना लोगे, and we had to go through all that process. थोड़ा competition भी था और एक company भी आया था, and we did a better proposal and stuff like that. तो they asked us to quote and we didn't know what to quote. ठीक है, हमने ऐसे एक random number, some 2.5 lakhs or 3 lakhs we quoted and we got that project, and that's where we figured out कि अच्छा इसमें पैसा है. This is where our skills can can be put in use. So consulting and design and deploying stuff, तो इसमें जाते हैं. So that's where we figured out कि अच्छा we'll proceed forward, and that was the first project. And I went on that project. हमको project it got awarded to us, and I took a sick leave and went for the project, couple of 3-4 days. And while there, my initial plan was कि 3-4 दिन जाऊँगा फिर आ जाऊँगा. Then वहाँ पे जाके I realized कि 3-4 दिन में तो नहीं होगा, ये लंबा खींचने वाला है, 2-3 हफ्ता, 2 हफ्ते का था वो, 2 हफ्ता खींचना है और मुझे रहना पड़ेगा यहाँ पे, नहीं तो नहीं होगा. So I resigned from there only. While at the site of that first project, I sent an email to my manager कि I'm resigning. And like I said, he was very happy to let me go. तो ऐसे हुआ था.
Oh wow. Now the one bit again, I would like to ponder upon is कि जैसे क्या होता है, a lot of people have a good background and things, they come from a decent background, or they have a good backup in place कि ठीक है यार, अगर ये नहीं हुआ तो ये है, ये नहीं हुआ तो ये है. But then majority, if you look at our country, right, it's not like that. People don't have that kind of a backup in place, right? And आधे से ज़्यादा बच्चे शायद इंजीनियरिंग इसलिए करते हैं कि चलो कोई जॉब मिल जाएगी and we'll be able to support the family, right? Now, looking at that kind of a picture, looking at that kind of a scenario, how do you think one can really approach this?
Approach entrepreneurship.
Approach entrepreneurship. And before that, before you answer that, maybe if you can just talk a little bit of what do you think of startup culture in today's time? And I'm asking this very, very candidly. Like, do you think it has become kind of a fashionable in a way, or do you think there's some meat to it that there are so many people who are plunging into it? So that, and then maybe you can just dwell upon a little bit on the people part.
Yeah, startup culture is both. It is hip, right? It is cool, and it has got the fantasy of every youngster now, right? वो तो है, but on the positive side of things, right? And we need this, especially as a country.
You say we need this.
As a country, we need a startup culture. We need as many entrepreneurs as possible. We are a country of 1.4 billion population. Majority are youngsters. We need. There is only a small amount of jobs that government can create. The rest of the jobs have to be created by private sector. There's only a certain amount that large companies can do. We need more entrepreneurs, we need more job creation, we need more for economy to grow, we need more entrepreneurs. And there's nothing wrong with it. And yes, there is a lot of people jumping in just because it is cool, and a lot of people wasting time or burning their fingers, wasting their money, wasting their energy. I think वो होगा ही, that is natural. One smart thing that youngsters should do, or anybody who has a thought of jumping into entrepreneurship should do, is just like uh, just like you know, uh, becoming an actor would need certain training and exposure to that industry. If somebody wants to become a cricketer, they need to go through the training and that whole process, right? Similarly, entrepreneurship also, people I think should look at it more practically, more systematically. First तो ये है कि whether I'm in that stage of life where, like you said, people come from different family situations, right? For somebody it might not be very wise to expose their family to a lot of lot of pressure, or maybe the right thing for them is to stabilize their financial situation for a couple of years and then figure out, right? And for those who can, right, a good wise thing would be to first go and work for a startup, right? Okay. First, and I actually tell this to a lot of my friends, is corporate में job करना one thing है, startup में करना it is altogether a different experience, right? And why not instead of working in a corporate, why not work in a startup? Maybe take a small pay cut, but on the contrary, you are getting a lot of exposure and a lot of learning and a good understanding of how things work in a startup ecosystem, what are the dynamics and all those.
What kind of differences you're talking about, let's say, between corporate and startup? What kind of differences in
Huge, yeah, it's huge. Difference is huge. Corporate में क्या होता है, when somebody goes into a corporate job, right, what he does is very well defined. Right, most of the time कि ये तुम्हारा
process is very well
everything is very well defined, processes है, all processes in place, आपका काम क्या है वो well defined है, तुम्हारा scope इतना ही है and stuff, right? In startup there is nothing, you go in, there is no process, right? Everybody is doing everything, most of the people are multitasking, most of the right, good guys, the good founders or the main core team जो होता है कोई भी startup में, they are very very smart people. And one of the things that is very essential in a startup is कि everybody should be smart enough to pick up a new role. मान लो आप you are hired as a let's say operations manager or something, right? And then you are looking at operations, and suddenly in 1 year down the line the startup has moved to the next phase wherein we are scaling to 100 cities or whatever, 100 offices. Now there is a need of somebody who looks at infrastructure projects, right? Who will look after infra. Then the person should be smart enough, and this is most people in startup world are people like this, who are really smart but who are very they're good in picking up new skills very quickly, right? Getting into new roles very quickly, and that's a great exposure. And this is the good part. The other part, the pressure and the uncertainty, the what do you say, a lot of the chaos and all those things. So somebody who's been in a very, I'll tell you something interesting, right? I've seen a lot of corporate senior management guys like VPs and directors coming out and starting up and failing miserably.
Yeah.
I've seen this very common. I'll tell you why. Because in corporate, and especially once somebody goes to a very senior role, right, like VP or director, one is they feel very entitled and right, and they feel कि अच्छा ये सारा team है, मैं बस बोलूँगा, I'll give a nice presentation, nice motivation, and people will do, right? So that is the main there, and that is what is expected of a senior guy, keep everybody motivated and stuff like that. When you start up, you have to a lot of times one has to keep his ego aside and go talk to a lot of people, right? I was talking about it, right?
Yeah.
Let's say you have to keep your ego aside and say, go talk to a lot of people, ask for opportunities or ask for whatever money or whatever it is, right? So wo senior, the guys who come
It's
from senior,
difficult
for them it is very difficult to do that.
Yeah, basically to roll up your sleeves and remove your tag and just be a common hustler
Right.
and just go out there and
Yeah.
ask for
Yeah.
ask for work.
Yeah, they cannot do that. I've met so many of them. वो लोग स्टार्टअप में आके भी they'll still be bragging कि I was VP of Amazon, I did this and that. अरे वो that is irrelevant, right, to what he's doing now. So yeah, so I think for people who want to start up, I think now the most practical thing is कि go find a job for yourself in a startup, and very wise thing is be very close to the get a role where you have a close interaction with the founder. You see how they operate, what how they think or act.
Or even if you don't get a role which is close to them, maybe make your way
Up, yeah.
through to a point where you can maybe
Yeah.
have those conversations or interact with those people.
Absolutely.
Because a lot of things that people don't see from outside or don't get to see from outside is that there are some traits of being a good entrepreneur. One definitely is being comfortable with uncomfortable situation. Right, that is one of the trait. A good entrepreneur never, you cannot put him in a comfort. I mean, he'll not stay in a comfort zone for a very long time. As soon as we reach a comfort zone, we switch to the next thing, right? Another trait is somebody who's always looking to solve some problem, who's not comfortable with a very comfortable position. He's always looking to solve something, right? Problem solving ability, being comfortable in a chaotic environment, always trying to figure out something, and being optimistic. It's yeah.
So, is it also the reason why you tried multiple startups? Like you just spoke about, you cannot be too comfortable
Yeah.
in one situation for too
Yeah.
long.
Yeah.
So, do you think that is one reason that you also
Yeah.
tried multiple startups? And how did that go basically? That series of startups that you've done.
Yeah, series matlab, this is I would say third.
Because why I'm asking this, because I think in your LinkedIn profile your bio says serial entrepreneur, right? So I'm just trying to pick on that. So
Yeah.
So जो first startup है, which is Airowire Networks, which I did for I think 7 to 8 years now. So that reached a certain stage wherein it has reached a certain stage where it is you can call it as a mid-enterprise company, right? We're not a startup anymore.
By the way, it is completely bootstrapped, right?
It is bootstrapped, yes. So it has grown to a good scale. There is there's a good stability. It is self-sustaining now. There is good number of customers. There is a large team. There's
Could you share a little bit how big is Aerowire's now in
Airowire-
terms of numbers?
You mean revenues?
Revenues, number of employees, scale, customers.
Okay.
So in terms of revenues, I think we clocked somewhere around 10 million USD as of last year, 2023. We are about a 90 member team. We have presence in India, Singapore and US, and within India we have office in Bangalore and Mumbai. Right? And we work with a lot, all the all good logos in all verticals, right?
And this is all that you guys have pulled off in 8 years
8
and
years.
completely bootstrapped.
Bootstrap, yes.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So Airowire reached a phase wherein everything is self-sustained. Like I said, there's a team for everything. There's a process. It has reached a certain stage where, at least I personally feel comfortable, right now, and for me personally, that is not a good feeling. Being comfortable, right? It makes me little.
अभी अब कुछ और करना है.
हाँ, अभी next क्या करना है? तो I think that is a common, behavioral trait, right? Started a new company last year. So we're building a SaaS product around, again, in the space of networking. We are building a network management product with data science. So that's what we are working on. Yeah.
तो एक चीज़ बताओ, ये एक्सरसाइज, हाउ डू यू गो अबाउट दिस, लाइक व्हाट इज़ द अप्रोच कि चलो ठीक है, एरोवायर ने एक पोजीशन तक हम पहुंच गए, अब मुझे कुछ अलग करना है, कुछ नया करना है या नया स्टार्टअप बनाना है. सो व्हाट इज़ दिस प्रोसेस वेयर यू स्टार्ट टू थिंक कि क्या करना है, राइट? बिकॉज दैट इज़ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. मुझे ये तो पता है मुझे कुछ और करना है, बट क्या करना है, लाइक व्हाट डू आई वांट टू डू नेक्स्ट? हाउ डू यू फाइंड दैट and make it so interesting that you actually get into it?
यार मेरे लिए तो it was very organic, I would say. और like I said, मैंने हमेशा जो अभी मैं कर रहा हूँ उसका नेक्स्ट स्टेप करता गया हूँ. लाइक आई वॉज इन नेटवर्किंग.
So relatable.
रिलेटेबल फॉर मी. इट वॉज ऑलवेज ऑर्गेनिक कि नेटवर्किंग में जॉब कर रहा था. व्हाट बिजनेस आई कैन डू in networking, and that's how Airowire started, right? Consulting. So while doing this for last 6-7 years, we came across several customers, and where we saw several challenges with those customers and how customers struggle with managing their networks, right? So one of the big insights was, earlier we used to do only consulting, which is help a customer with a design of a network or help him design and build. Which was organic. Initially only design, fill design and build, and then lately we started doing managed services, meaning you are an organization, I will manage your network. Correct. Right? So when we started doing managed services, we actually felt ki what it takes to manage an infrastructure, because all this while just recommendation देना, consulting देना या नया setup बनाना is one thing, but once that setup is in place, managing it is very, very challenging, very, very painful. So we came across those problems ourselves कि ये तो बहुत मुश्किल है यार, इसको क्या करना है इसको. तो it was very natural evolution कि why not we automate this whole stuff of managing a network. Can we build a solution around this? Why is there no solution around this? So we started thinking in that direction, and it led to the next thing.
No, amazing. I think managed services definitely comes with its own set of challenges. Having worked in managed services for a while, managing a team, and we were, I think, looking at some 20 different customers from different parts of the world, and yeah, it's a difficult job because the idea is you cannot have a P1. Right, you cannot have a priority one situation in a customer's network, because and that is basically the end goal, that to have minimum P1s in that span, because that shows how well you are managing the network. Otherwise, if there are more P1s, that means you're not doing a good job. So yeah, I mean, running it yourself as an org. Don't you think it's a very, very competitive space in that way, and there are some very large players out there?
Which space?
The managed services.
Yeah, it is a competitive space, yes.
Yeah. So what I'm trying to understand is, how do you still are able to thrive as an organization, maybe which as of now not has a reach of a very large scale industries, and they are able to pull the managed services off so well?
Yeah, it's an ocean, right? So every shark has some food. So it's huge world. There are so many companies out there, and the the tier 1, so the T1 MSPs, right? They would not be able to cater everybody. They will be able to cater only the top cream of the organization, like say Citibank or American Bank. But what happens to IDBI Bank or Bank Punjab National Bank, right? Who would cater to them? So then there is another set of. So it's a huge ocean. I think it's very inappropriate to think कि अगर कोई बड़ा है कोई sector में, then there is no space. There is huge space for a lot of people to play.
Yeah. So, but then so what I understand from you is understanding where you are standing in the market is also very important, and not simply aim for those big ones right there. Maybe you can grow step by step, but identifying your own position in the market, so it's very important. Nice. Now, you are running this for a long time, right? 8 years now that you started Airowire and everything. Now, of course, it was not always hunky dory, right? There must have been a lot of setbacks too.
Definitely.
So, can you talk about a little bit on that? Like, what were some of the major setbacks that maybe really upset you? And was there also a point where you were like, "Nahi yaar, mujhe nahi karna ye. I just want to leave this and go back to what I was doing."
Yeah.
So setbacks, a lot of them, especially COVID, right? The initial 2-3 months of COVID, right? Which was absolute bouncer, right? Nobody had any clue kya karna hai, what will happen next, right? Because we had picked up a good momentum after 3-4 years, and everything was really going well. We had booked a new office, and we are about to move into that office in 2 months, and then COVID happened, and then everything went still, right? That was one of the big setbacks, I think, for every organization in the world, right? But I feel ki I've been very lucky with. I think this is another very important point is your co-founders or your partners in business are very, very crucial, right? Having co-founders who have complementary skill sets or complementary nature, right? I am a certain kind of person, I have certain strengths, but there should be somebody who has strengths where I do not have strengths, right? So I've been very lucky with that aspect कि मेरा जो co-founding team है that is very, very strong, and our relation is very strong, and as a team, because we were a team, we could sail through a lot of challenges. If it was me alone, probably I would not have done or could not have done that alone, right? It's a lot of mental pressure, a lot of stuff and stuff like that. Or team hona, strong team hona, it makes it easy.
And I think best part with you is your co-founders are your schoolmates.
Yeah. One of them is my school friend, and the other is work colleague, ex-work colleague. Yeah. So if it happens that your co-founder is somebody you know for a very long time, then nothing like that. But otherwise also, it has to be somebody who you trust really well, because entrepreneurship is a long journey. Any startup is a minimum of 5 to 8 years, right, before you have some kind of exit. So sticking with that partner through all the thicks and thins of the journey, so that is important. I think having a strong supporting team is very important, and family and all that stuff.
So COVID वाले time से कैसे deal किया फिर, like when that setback happened, like COVID just struck. It was a surprise for all of us, everyone in the world, everywhere. So वो जब हुआ, you took a new office. I remember that time when you had just taken this office and you shared the pictures as well that hey, you're inaugurating and everything. Just a few months later, boom. So उससे फिर like उस journey से निकले कैसे, like what was the thought process, क्या किया, कैसे किया?
Yeah, उस time there was no other option than to perform, and because you have a team of, I think 40, we were 40, 50 people team, and then we had to. So two things happened. One was when you're pushed into a corner, you fight and you figure out, right? So that year also happened to be our biggest year. After the first initial 3-4 months of nothing, no business, then the rest 6-7 months we did exceptionally well. We went out, we won one of the largest orders of our of our business. So when you are pushed into corner, I think the natural instinct is to fight and win, right? So that happened naturally. The other part is in terms of cost cutting. Obviously, we had a call with the entire team. We said, look, there is no option but to have salary cuts, and this we are doing for everybody, starting from the management to everybody, and the senior guys will have a bigger impact in terms of cut, and the juniors will have lesser impact. That's what we decided, and it was very heartwarming to see that everybody was very understanding and very cooperating during that phase. And some people who are okay to do with the family and etc., they said, we don't mind if you do a full cut also, we are okay with that. And
wow, so you had such people in the team who were ready to let go of their entire salary.
Yeah, that happened. There are a couple of people who said, sir, we are okay, our families are okay. So we had.
And what kind of experience level these people?
The 2 or 3 years old guy.
Wow.
Yeah, 2 or 3 years old guys. So that was very heartwarming. And then we also promised them that as we'll stop the salary cuts as soon as we can, as soon as we stabilize, and we'll also compensate for the salary which has been deduction once we go forward. So I think COVID happened in March 3rd week or something, March 3rd or 4th week. We started having salary cuts from the month of May, and we did it till September or October. I think till September. May, June, July, August, September, October, 6 months, October. So October, November back to normal salaries, and by I think Jan or Feb we compensated for all 6 months which was deducted, and then I think 3 or 4 months down the line we also gave them bonus for that year.
Oh, wow.
So we were lucky in terms ki we were able to do well in terms of business that year. Also we felt lucky ki we have a good team who will stick to us for a long journey. So that was one of the
How important it is to have such people around?
Very, very important. I think business is all about people, right? It's all about people. And now I have huge respect for large companies like Cisco, Atlassian, VMware, all these companies, because making a product is one thing, but building a company around it is very difficult thing, and sustaining that top position for 5 decades is huge, right? So now I have huge respect for large companies, anything, right? Be it Infi, TCS, Cisco, whoever it is, it's tremendous job, right, to build and operate a large company.
So what is, and this is a very important topic in terms of when we look at the dynamics of any company or corporate for that matter. So what is your process कि यार जब मैं बंदा hire करता हूँ for Airowire Networks, let's say, so what are kind of things that you look for in that person, and also as co-founders, how do you guys build about a culture like this? Like, because this, when I heard this, when you said that a couple of people stepped out to say, okay, we are ready to take the full cut, it definitely kind of एक होता ना आपको, it gives you a feeling कि there's a very, very strong culture within this company, and that will only make these kind of stories. Otherwise you will never hear anything like this, right? So what is that process that you guys follow? One is definitely what kind of people you pick, and what do you see exactly, and how do you build this kind of a culture?
Yeah, building culture is, I think, the hardest part of any business or any organization. Hiring, yeah, to be honest, over a period of time, hiring gets diluted, right? Any organization, but what we try to do is look for people with a certain hunger, who come from a certain not so privileged background, right? They have the hunger to learn, and they are also grateful for somebody who's giving them an opportunity. So we have had hires who are not from IT background. We have had civil engineering students, mechanical engineering students, and they are
doing IT right now.
Yeah, and they have done exceptionally well. Those are the guys who did exceptionally well. One of them, he worked with us for 4 or 5 years, and then he went and joined Cisco. He's in Cisco now. Right? So we also look at that angle. He should be obviously smart guy, good language skills, but but not necessarily from engineering background, not necessarily from IT background. Right? He can be a fresher, he can be from a non-tech background also, but he's smart, he can communicate, plus he has that hunger. They stick for a long time.
Nice. Now, this is one more thing I wanted to quickly touch upon regarding the COVID thing. When that whole situation happened, and everyone was kind of locked out in a way, right, in their homes and things. You had told me that I think कुछ 7 लोग थे घर में थे.
Yeah.
So what was that story like?
हाँ, क्योंकि yeah, a lot of crazy things happened during that time. So yeah, we started traveling as in once lockdown was lifted and all that. तो उस टाइम ये हुआ था कि everybody was work from home. Office में कोई था नहीं. All employees are work from home, and so were all of us, right? Co-founders and all of that. So I was shuttling between many cities. I was going back to my hometown. I was in Goa for some time and here for some time. मेरा घर पूरा खाली था. So my co-founder, his house lease had gotten over, so he shifted in my house because I was not staying in my house. Then what happened? His wife was pregnant. My wife was also pregnant during that time, right? तो और ऊपर से बाकी लोग भी हमारे जो कोर टीम है जो ऐसा हो गया कि वो lot of our core team and all those friends, everybody used to stay in my home and everybody used to work from there. So it was proper like, and we had nowhere else to go, right? बाहर जाना भी नहीं था. Half of the time it was locked down and half of the time it was open, but all restrictions. So I think almost a year or something, it was like full bachelor pad. वहाँ पे meetings भी होती थी, customer को भी लेके आते थे, वहीं पे meeting होती थी, फिर OEMs भी आते थे वहीं पे.
So everything is happening at your place.
At the home. Yeah, that was fun time. Everybody still remembers that. Yeah.
Cool. So what's next for Airowire?
Yeah, Airowire, we are scaling up.
Yeah.
Obviously, we are scaling in terms of revenues, teams, and technologies that we offer. I have taken a back seat now. I'm focusing on our new startup, which is Filoffee. We are building a SaaS product for network management. So my focus from last 1 year has been on the new startup. So, yeah.
So let's address the elephant in the room, AI.
Okay.
So अभी I think if I go to Twitter, अगर मैं ट्विटर में अपना टाइमलाइन चेक करता हूँ तो शायद 10 में से 5 ट्वीट मिलेंगे 9 chat GPT websites that you must bookmark right now, right? So the scale of innovation is like mind boggling right now when it comes to this whole chat GPT and AI and whatnot. And all the big companies are also, trying to see how quickly they can adopt, right? Instead of कि हम कहीं पीछे ना रह जाए, right? So I think everyone is like focusing very heavily. And then there's a set of group like Elon Musk and a lot of other big
Yeah.
names out there who are signing a petition that there should be a break of 6 months into this, so that there could be some regulations in place.
Yeah.
So how is what is your take on this whole thing with Chat GPT or AI and all these things that's happening around, and how are you looking at somewhere integrating this into your system, be it in
Yeah.
Airowire or your new company which is SaaS
Yeah.
related?
Yeah, the new startup and the product that we are building, that is obviously it's going to be AI enabled as we go down the line, right? Our vision is to basically make network management fully autonomous. We are calling it the autopilot mode. Basically, once our thought process is, if a flight can carrying 200 300 people, once it goes off into air, if it can be switched into autopilot mode, the network catches it. It should also run on autopilot mode, right? It should figure out what is happening, what is wrong, and it should fix on itself, unless there is a major intervention required. So that is our vision, to build networks or make networks capable of running on their own, fully autonomous. But it's a journey. It doesn't happen overnight. It needs a lot of data engineering and work around data. So AI is definitely something which is, I think it's very obvious now कि it's the future, and it is going to affect each and every one of us in some way or other. It is already doing, we are not, most of us are probably not aware of it, but we are already using AI in so many aspects of our life, right? It will only get more prominent as we go forward. I don't think anybody can stop it. It's part of natural human evolution. I don't know, it may happen someday कि they will take over the world, which is very very possible.
You really feel that?
Yeah, it's very possible. We don't know when that will happen. That may happen, and even if that happens, I think that is also part of our evolution. So maybe it is destiny कि one day we transform into cyborgs, right? Like हम भी कहीं से आए ना, we came from amoeba, right? Here till here. So I think that might be our natural next evolution.
That's an interesting take, and the good, I mean, or the interesting bit is that you actually believe in that this
Yeah.
can happen.
Yeah, it can happen. See, any technology which is it. So technology is only a matter of time, right? Unless the technology becomes practical, it is people have a question mark or look at it like magic, right? 500 years ago, if somebody thought of any of this, right, which seems very normal to us, right, the video calling or even regular phones, people flying in planes, all of this would sound very crazy to people back then, just about 500 years ago or 1000 years ago, right? But no, it's all reality now. So AI is also will be a reality probably 100 years down the line, 200 years down the line. Yeah.
No, amazing. And no, cool. I think that's an interesting take on AI, because to have that sort of an acceptance to it,
Yeah.
I think that talks a lot about what you feel about AI, because I think there's a general perception in the market around AI that it's dangerous, it's this, it's that. But yeah, I think we can only do good to ourselves if we rather be more open to it, and we accept it, rather learn it, and see how it goes from there,
Yeah.
instead of being apprehensive about it.
Yeah.
Awesome. Cool. So Akshay, I think it has been an interesting journey so far. From where it all started to where you are today, and then now working on your new venture as well. And wish you good luck for that too. Now, when you look at this whole journey, right, which you have come along so far, what were some of the key insights or patterns that you may have discovered? Maybe sometimes you are sitting alone in this office and just thinking about your life as it has happened. तो कभी कभी ऐसा लगता है, have you found some keys, some patterns, insights,
Patterns for what?
like the success of it, how it has come by
Yeah.
in this journey? Is there a pattern? Is there any method to it, right? When you look back to this whole journey, and that learning, are you applying it, let's say, in your next venture, and things like that?
Yeah, to be honest, uh, honestly, I feel when I look back at my own journey and the events that took place and one led to another, uh, it's surreal, right? And it couldn't have been calculated. No matter, this is what I feel personally. Feel is ki all of us have certain level of intuition built into us, right? Certain intuition हम में होता है by default. We should follow our intuition and gut feeling, although at that point of time it might not make sense, it might be counterintuitive, but going forward that will connect you to your next next opportunity and stuff like that. When I look back, it has always been all these decisions which were very intuitive. They were not calculated. For example, decision to not take up medical and choose engineering was more of intuition. It was not calculated. During the engineering, at some point, taking intuitive decision ki skill hai to chal jayega, not I don't have to really go through that whole process of thing, right? Because if I had done that, I would have gone some other company, some other things. All these have been when at least in my journey, I can relate that all have been intuitive decisions, and I think everybody should follow their gut feeling and just go with that.
But with a strong belief.
With a strong belief and strong self-belief, go with that. Not be over analytical about life. This is one thing that I see with many people, is that we have become very analytical about life. कि मैं ये पहले ये करूँगा, फिर ये करूँगा, फिर ये करूँगा, ये करूँगा. But life is very dynamic, right? So I think we should just go with our gut feeling and go with the flow. We should be analytical in the smaller aspects of everyday life, smaller things like problem solving and stuff like that. But overall life decision, I think we should not be analytic. We should be more, intuitive. I think, yeah, that's what I feel.
Awesome. I think you shared some great anecdotes, some great insights around your journey, what it has been so far, and I think I just loved everything that I heard today. And thank you so much, Akshay, again, for doing this. I think
Pleasure.
while I really know you for a long time, I know a lot of things that you have spoken, but I could still get to know ऐसी काफ़ी सारी चीज़ें जो शायद मुझे नहीं पता थी. There's a lot of smaller bits here and there which I discovered today, and I feel truly inspired by this whole journey and some of the areas in the way you think or you approach. So again, thanks a lot, great sharing, and yeah, thank you for doing this.
Thanks, man. Pleasure, absolute pleasure being on your podcast, and all the very best. I'm sure it'll be a big success.
Thank you so much.
Cheers. Take care. Bye bye.